mean, I do not think oil is in any way now a leading indicator of stability in the Middle East. I mean, it's now become a lagging indicator. I mean, the situation in the region, we've had multiple tanker attacks, infrastructure attacked, we've had drones shot at, taken down, and yet, Brent is really not moving in the way we would expect it to. I mean, 5 years ago, oil was above 100 when ISIS overran Fallujah, Mosul, and oil wasn't really at risk then. Now you have key waterways, having attacks, and oil doesn't move. I think this does reflect demand concerns. I think it reflects, the view that the U.S. is such a large producer that we have shock absorbers to deal with any major outage in the Middle East. And I think right now the market is more focused on a trade war than a shooting war in the Middle East.
But does it, Helima, mean that in a way we're not paying enough attention to, to the developments there? Because ordinarily we'd say, oh, my gosh, the oil price is up $10 or it's at such a level. We have to talk about this issue and how it's going to be resolved. And instead, everyone can just kind of ignore it.
You can sort of shrug off the potential for a war. I mean, I think these events are remarkably serious. I think that we're looking at further escalation. I mean, I think it's amazing that the market sold off 4.5% on Tuesday when Secretary of State Pompeo suggested the Iranians might come to the table, when minutes later the Iranians said we're not coming to the table, and we didn't recover from that sell-off. I think, we really are looking at a situation of escalation. The Iranians just keep insisting they are not going to sit down until we start removing those sanctions. Yeah. And the White House continues to pile on sanctions. So I don't see any off-ramp right now to this cycle of escalation. And if there is a situation where U.S. servicemen in Iraq are, seriously harmed, that could be a red line for President Trump. If the Iranians really kickstart their nuclear restart, that is a red line for President Trump. And so I think the market believes there's no way we could get to a war, but I think there is a path to one.
You just really nailed the point I was going to ask, Helima, and that is, what does Iran want? They want sanctions relief. Specifically, what would they like to get, and what do you think will happen if they don't get it?
I mean, I think the Iranians, at a minimum, are looking for a resumption of oil export waivers. There's some studies out there saying that basically Iran needs to export around 720,000 barrels a day to cover their budget, to import goods, to stave off social unrest. So I think that is something that the administration could potentially offer to get talks started. But again, the administration now is sanctioning China for importing Iranian oil. So we're not seeing a situation where the U.S. is putting any carrots out there to get the Iranians back to the table. So again, I don't see any path to de-escalation right now.
No path to de-escalation. At the same time, Helima, I'm just curious, where do you think Brent would be if there were no tensions in the Middle East? And I ask that because, as you mentioned, there's so many other factors involved holding that price down.
I mean, I certainly think this is putting something of a floor under prices. But also there's the issue of the fact that we've taken 2 million barrels of Iranian exports off the market over the course of the year. That's also providing support. So the question is, would Brent be potentially, in the 50s if it weren't for this? That's something we could certainly talk about. But you think about if we didn't have the resumption of the trade wars, think where we were in April in terms of prices. But then you had the Trump tweets about the trade war, and that stopped the rally. So I think the question going into the remainder of the summer is, what story is going to be dominant, the trade war or the shooting war?